What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate each and every single one of you coming by. Now, this past week, I was just extremely sick, and today has just been the first day that I've been honestly able to even focus and feel halfway into it and know what's going on. But I've wanted to take this opportunity to really summarize some trends. And I figured today would be as good a day as any to kind of recap what's happened over the past week. I've been catching up on things here over the past day or two as I've started to feel better. So I appreciate, again, each and every single one of you coming by. Definitely appreciate you hitting the like button on this. It helps keep and push these videos out. So today I wanted to talk about some trends, again, that have been happening today and really continue to follow the narrative of where regulations are heading, where stablecoins and where central bank digital currencies overall are leading this industry, where utility is leading this industry. Have some Ripple updates as well. Seems like this week has had some definite happenings with the Ripple SEC lawsuit. So without further ado, let's just kind of dig in. I have some really interesting articles here. So we'll start out here. I found this happening this week is very telling over what is actually happening in the space. We're going to talk about the ramifications. We're going to talk about different regulatory bodies, what that might look like in the future, and how that affects you and your crypto holdings. So if you want to stay to the end, you'll definitely see kind of some recaps in case you missed any important news this week. Now, payment giant Mastercard is expanding its consulting arm with new crypto services. Now, this is from this week, and I wanted to bring this up because Mastercard obviously is a huge player in the payment space, and they are extending their payments-focused consulting services to keep up with the influx and innovation in digital assets. If anything, the narrative here that I like to cover on this channel is that cryptocurrency and the utility will be what survives and prevails over the next decade. I'm a firm believer that crypto is not going anywhere despite what's happening short-term. The business world is facing an influx of innovation, changing consumer preferences, rapid digital transformation, and geopolitical shifts. So we see what's happening with Russia. We see what's happening around the world, different protests. We won't get into the politics of things, but of course you can see things like what's happening in Canada. We are seeing really a revolution of some old systems that have been around for 100 years, 100 plus years, centralized systems. But now Mastercard getting into this means that these big players, they're paying attention to this. They're paying attention to this. You see here, payments are just the beginning. Over the past 20 years, we've worked with customers across banking, fintech, retail, travel, and other sectors, helping them understand and navigate every challenge and opportunity thrown their way. Now, in case you missed this as well, JP Morgan, this is from this week, they entered the Metaverse with virtual Decentraland Lounge. Now, if you're not following the Metaverse trend and narrative as much, then you know, or if you are following the narrative much, then you know Decentraland is one of the bigger metaverse plays here, and honestly, in the grand scheme of things, it may be one that actually survives. I've been in there, I played around with it. I don't own anything in Decentraland, but I feel like it's definitely one to continue to watch. Extremely volatile and risky at this point, but with the biggest risk comes the biggest potential reward. Now you see here, if this is any indicator of the metaverses that will survive, JP Morgan, they're basically seeing the market opportunity of $1 trillion in yearly revenue. Wow. So they're actually opening up their Onyx Lounge with basically a storefront there in Decentraland. Now, and they're saying when you think about economics of the metaverse or the metanomics, there are opportunities in almost every market area. And I wanted to bring that up to you guys' attention because really understanding and being able to thrive, there's going to be numerous business models that we can even begin to think of right now. And the metaverse and just really crypto in general is going to, I believe, if you're in on the right opportunities, be what really revolutionizes your whole future and the ability for you to just control your time more efficiently. We're not here to suggest the metaverse as we know it today will take over all human interactions, but rather to explore the many exciting opportunities it presents for consumers and brands alike. So essentially they're saying, hey, $1 trillion a year. They want the democratic ownership economy coupled with the possibility of interoperability. We can think of several assets that solve the interoperability conundrum here. We talk about Quant and others on this channel. Could unlock immense economic opportunities. So that just kind of goes to show you right here, interoperability, not to get off there, but that will be a huge, huge part of it. Obviously, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse saying that. The bank cited household names such as PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Walmart, Nike, Verizon, Gap, Adidas, Hulu, and Atari as early adopters and investors in the blockchain economy. Those are going to be the ones that really see the most growth, I feel like. The average price of virtual land, this is in Decentraland, has doubled from 6,000 to 12,000 in 6 months last year. So keep an eye on this space. Now, let's actually move on because, again, I wanted to focus most of this video on the regulatory framework, some things that have happened this week, obviously following the Ripple SEC case very closely because that is going to be a huge portend of future events and how it affects you and I and how it affects what stablecoins we hold and where we can put our money. So right here you see, actually this was from this week too, U.S. state Colorado is going to accept Bitcoin for tax payments this summer. Now they've got their governor here, Jared Polis, I'm not sure how to say his name here, has just announced that Colorado will begin accepting Bitcoin for tax payments starting this summer. Now, Bitcoin, long term, Bitcoin is, like it or hate it, Bitcoin is still in control and leads this market, right? Whether you own any or whether you don't, Bitcoin is I feel like always going to have a place. It's always going to be there, and so seeing states adopt it to start taking tax payments, I mean, this stuff doesn't happen if something is about to just go away or get out-regulated. Speaking to CNBC on Wednesday, the state's governor confirmed that his administration was fast-tracking a plan to roll out a framework that will see Colorado residents start to pay their taxes in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Basically, they're going to be able to pay it. They're not going to hold it, though. They're actually just going to be able to convert it back into dollars. Our expenses are in dollars, so when we talk about accepting cryptos, they would be converted back into dollars for our purpose. So they're just going to make it easier. That just, again, my point here is that this stuff only happens if we see continual adoption long term. And Bitcoin might just be that ubiquitous, decentralized layer of money that some fans and proponents always keep talking about. I don't get married to any one particular crypto. I just look at the narratives and I see what's actual reality. And the reality is we're seeing adoption, U.S. states adopting it for tax payments. We see right here, Federal Reserve should add Bitcoin to its balance sheet in the future, Wyoming Senator Loomis says. Now, if you follow that, you know that Cynthia Loomis is pretty pro-crypto. She thinks that the Federal Reserve should add Bitcoin to its balance sheet once the top crypto assets become more, or the top crypto asset becomes more regulated. Loomis spoke this week at a webinar hosted by the Orrin G. Hatch Foundation, was asked about the idea of the Fed purchasing Bitcoin. And she said, well, I think it's a great idea, to be honest. I think that once there is statutory and regulatory framework, it's going to make a lot of sense. The fact that it's completely decentralized is going to make it, over time, more ubiquitous. And I think it's going to be something that the Fed should hold on its balance sheet. The Fed right now, they buy and sell mortgage-backed securities. They buy treasury bonds. They back those up, and that's what is the foundation of our entire market, our entire equity market. So she's proposing that Bitcoin should also be a part of that, which is a really interesting idea, and could add some more stability to, well, the continuous printing of money, even all things considered what's happening right now this past week. So you'll see, I wanted to bring this up too. The bill would install a self-regulatory organization between the SEC and the CFTC, which is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, that would make some of the initial calls on whether something is a commodity or a security. Now, there are multiple regulators shaping U.S. crypto policy. What this is suggesting, and what I believe is the most likely outcome, is that we don't see a new regulatory organization that is headed by the SEC and the CFTC, sort of like a joint type regulating body that just governs crypto, right? Because now you have different, like even going back to the SEC here, and I wanted to bring this up here. The SEC was formed in 1934 to prevent fraud connected to the sale of securities or financial contracts. Not going to go down the rabbit hole here, but my point is a new security body, less than 100 years old. It's likely that crypto, why not? Let's have it our own regulating body, because crypto is different than any other type of security, asset, derivative. It's different. And we need to have specific rules and regulations around that. And some of these top, the CFTC, the SEC, they have a hand in it, sure. And the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, you see, they have a hand in it as well. And also the FDIC. The biggest thing is that right now a lot of stablecoins are out there, and we're going to talk more about stablecoins here in a second. But a lot of risk is that people don't view stablecoins as potential long-term plays because there's no FDIC, there's no insurance against theft or hacking. And so adding that as a base layer requirement is going to essentially make stablecoin issuers almost essentially the same as banks, which moving into a central bank digital currency type environment will be very interesting to see how that plays out. Because, the U.S. banks are insured up to $250,000. So a lot of these yield farms and places that you can put, your USDC or USDT, there's more risk because you could lose it. And if you don't have insurance on it. Now, some exchanges like Crypto.com, certain exchanges, they're going to offer insurance as well, and that's something that you may want to look into. But these are some of the main trends that, like I said, are going to be governing what is actually happening. Again, the takeaway here is we're going to have our own regulating body, more than likely. Now, this was very interesting news here, and that just shows you they're really coming in, and it'll really be interesting to see also what this executive order coming from the president's office is going to really have to unfold and show in crypto. But you saw here, in case you missed it, Nexo is going to stop paying interest on new deposits from U.S. customers. Now, this directly applies to me because I use Nexo. I have several assets on there that I've borrowed against, and they're basically saying, as of today, any new, when you top up or add any new type assets, they're not going to be paying you interest, right? Nexo's registered clients who are currently earning interest on the platform will continue to do so on their existing digital asset balances only, but anything new, it's not going to be available, right? And that's just, it's because of, as this pops up here, and it's because of a lot of people just, again, worried about not having insurance or worried about different regulations and lawsuits that the SEC is popping up against different providers and brokerages. Nexo's just really concerned about that. The current changes only affect Nexo's earned interest products in the U.S. and have no impact on any Nexo products in other countries. So obviously no one else is worried about it. But, that is something to pay attention to. We're following what the SEC is doing with Ripple and others. Now, wanted to bring this up. Democratic representatives, stablecoin issuers don't have to be banks with 100% reserves. This law that has been proposed, U.S. senators met Tuesday to discuss stablecoin regulation. Now, one New Jersey legislator called for greater transparency around the reserves that back stablecoins. Josh Gottheimer, a Democrat from New Jersey, wants to see certain stablecoins classified as qualified if consumers can redeem the digital currency on a one-for-one basis with U.S. dollars. Now, the proposal, dubbed the Stablecoin Innovation and Protection Act, comes as members of the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs gathered Tuesday to hear from a Treasury official on the matter. So, again, this is going to be them dictating and determining whether stablecoin issuers, whether they have to have a one-to-one backing of U.S. dollars. A lot of them are supposed to. Now, as we know, Tether and others may not actually have that full backing. We know Tether doesn't. And really, we need more accountability, more stability, and that's what these regulations will allow. Currently, if the issuer were to go belly up, in other words, if they were to go out of business and they didn't have reserves to cover the deposits, the holders of that stablecoin would just be out of luck, Senator Chris Van Hollen asked. And it looks like, yeah, that is correct. There's currently no requirements for assets backing stablecoins such as USDC or Tether. So this will be a narrative that we definitely want to pay attention to. Stablecoins, I feel like, will have a part in the new financial system, certain regulated ones, certain regulated exchanges. There's going to be a place for all of those, as well as the regulated assets, the utility assets here that we all love to follow and watch. Now, another bill, this was introduced by U.S. Congressman Warren Davidson. This is the Keep Your Coins Act. This is more, pro-privacy, pro-consumer, and this was by a Republican from Ohio, Warren Davidson. He introduced the legislation, Keep Your Coins Act. It comes in the wake of mounting concerns over crackdowns on the civil liberties in Canada. Obviously, you've paid attention to that over the past few weeks, with them, preventing Bitcoin and the fundraising from even reaching individual protesters. Regardless of your view on things, the whole idea of crypto is that we should not be able to have complete, the government should not be able to have complete control over money. Now, if passed, the bill would prevent any agency head from prohibiting or otherwise restricting the ability of a covered user to use a virtual currency or its equivalent for such users' own purposes. So, such as to purchase real or virtual goods and services for their own use, or to conduct transactions through a self-hosted wallet. This is going to allow, if passed, this would allow and give us it would prevent agencies from essentially doing what Canada is doing right now. It's going to allow for self-custody. And it's going to, you see it right here, what does the bill accomplish? It takes the FinCEN language that's been out there for a while and provides a framework for KYC that protects self-custody. This feels timely, especially after the Canadian government has doubled down on restricting the funding for and bank accounts of the protesters there. And that is the big thing is free speech, right? The ability to just be able to express yourself regardless of your political affiliation. If this protest happened in America, some would be cheering, some would be upset. My point is that it should be even-handed. We shouldn't use money as a way of controlling people. Of course, if there's criminal activity, we should go after that. But imagine if the same things were done to a crowd-funded BLM movement. That wouldn't be okay. It's not okay with the Freedom Convoy either, he said. So, quoting him here, this is important. It's important for this to protect our rights and protect our freedoms. So this will be, again, worth paying attention to this narrative here. Now, wanted to mention this as well. Crypto whales gobble up over $708 million in XRP amid massive accumulation spree, analytics firm says here. Now, crypto analytics firm Sentiment says big players in the world of crypto are buying XRP at a frantic pace. So no wonder with recent news here, we saw that today or this week Ripple gains an edge versus the SEC. Basically, the long and short of it is some memos from 2012 have been unsealed. That's going to shed new light on the case that shows Ripple was actually doing their due diligence and courting the SEC really to get that regulatory clarity all the way back in 2012, which for the SEC to come back after Ripple 8 years later and say that they tried to raise money as a security is just, it kind of is ridiculous. So this is a huge win, hopefully for Ripple, and that's why whales have been accumulating. Now you see here, this has actually been the second time in the coin's existence. So this is, it's really interesting to see the largest whales accumulating more. Since December 2021, the largest XRP wallets have picked up 897 million XRP, worth over $708 million US dollars at the time of writing. The latest whale accumulation is second only to November and December of 2020, when whales added 1.29 billion XRP to their stacks. So it, again, regardless of short-term price action, I believe that Ripple will be around long-term. So these are some major trends here that I found interesting this week, and we're going to keep paying attention to this. Now, I appreciate you guys watching to this video. Appreciate every single one of you coming by, continuing to watch this. This week we'll have more specific updates on cryptos that we'd like to follow. Now that I'm getting back into the groove of things and feeling better. Again, appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to leave a like on this video. Leave a comment on anything you found interesting. What do you feel like? Leave a comment below where you feel like regulations, where you feel like what governing body is actually going to be, what determines where and what should be regulated. What do you think? Where you think the space is going to go here in the next few months? Would be interesting to hear what you think. And as always, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next video.